I'm getting a lot from a lot of clients about them changing their jobs. They're changing inside because of all the energy going on.
Yeah.
And and this is part of their self-love of not just having a job,
Hmm.
working 9 to 5, and have Miller time Friday, as
Hmm.
I call it. That's your reward, Miller time, or a glass of wine.
Happy
I mean, they
hour.
have you've been good, you can get Miller time. Um, but people are changing so much with this energy that is fantastic. And they're calling up and they're saying, Mir, I just would like to to do something entirely different. You
Yeah.
know, when I was talking before about romancing yourself, taking care of yourself, that's
Hmm.
when you empower yourself by, we're always talking about one kind act
Hmm.
helps the world, and it does. Start with yourself, kindness to yourself, even if it's a beautiful bath or a walk in the park or go to see a friend,
Hmm.
just, stay time reading
Hmm.
and make a beautiful meal. And in this process, let's say they have a job and it's making them, pay their mortgage or rent,
Hmm.
um, keep that, but in the same token, start investigating their passions.
Yeah.
That is so important because we are in a different dimension. We
Yeah.
are in a higher dimension now.
Yeah.
It's wonderful because people are starting to unify and help each other. And
Yeah.
I love that. And the storms, you really do take some tragedies, but this time let's not have any more tragedies, but to help other people and then look around and say, okay, how do I want to build the next leg of my life, the next part of my journey?
Right. Yeah.
And looking within and saying, what do I love to do? And that's been a big question of all these people calling me up since these back to back storms because they've lost a lot, right?
Yeah.
They've lost their jobs,
Yeah.
because things have closed or
Yeah.
are no longer there. And so I've broken it down with different people like, what do you like to do? What
Hmm.
do you really like to do without criticism from your parents or your siblings,
Yeah.
And some people, I love to cook. I
Yeah.
like to make cupcakes or um I love to stay home with my child and let's say they've gone, which some of my clients have gone through very difficult times and lost their jobs.
Hmm.
Write about it. Write stories that the children can read and the adults at the same time get something out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm really encouraging people to write their stories. So right now is a perfect time to help others rebuilding their community. There's so much to do. Some people say they just want to be out taking care of properties like lawns and
Hmm.
shrubs and trees, you know? So
Yeah.
believe it or not, they're all branching off and doing this and making some money out of it because
Yeah.
the more you feel good about what you're doing, the passion, the universe will help you. They'll find people that need you.
That is true. Um, I can actually give myself as an example. I think that something happened, well, something did happen during COVID, right? I think we all got used to just going at it, right? The wheels were turning, we were just going at it year after year after year after year. People had their careers, their jobs, however they were doing things. And then when COVID happened, people were forced to stop. and look at themselves, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I had a business that was doing quite well, and we actually were setting up to have a fantastic year that year. And and then February, everything went to whatever. And then you just stop and you look at yourself for the first time in maybe decades, right? And a lot of people that, especially like career folks, people that were, in corporate world and stuff like that, having that time for the first time to look at themselves, they felt something that they cannot pretend not to feel anymore.
Right.
They
They had to
so
face it.
they had to face it. They cannot keep pretending anymore. So once you open your eyes to certain things about yourself, you cannot go back
No, you
to
cannot.
to pretending anymore. So then it's
No.
like, okay, I have bills to pay, I have responsibilities. So, okay, it's been what, 4 years now? People are still thinking, how do I transition, right? How do I merge these two worlds, like what I feel should be and what is, right? But it's getting to the point where it's like it's hunting you. Like you cannot just ignore it anymore. So progressively, it's like drips of water, right? It's starting to plant seeds in people's minds. Like there's got to be something, because I see it now. I cannot unsee it, you know. And for me, progressively, I realized there's got to be a better way, right? Because I kept running and I just didn't. It didn't feel like that was my path. So that pause, and that's actually that was part of, us moving to Florida and all that stuff. So that changed everything. That pause. And I believe that we're seeing now the effects that it's
Yes.
actually having on people, because it's like
Yes.
some seeds were planted during COVID that now are starting to take roots, and people cannot ignore it anymore.
Right. This is so important, everything you're saying. And it wasn't just facing yourself. I mean, I was extremely busy during that time, from phone calls. Thank
Hmm.
goodness I can do a lot of my work on phone calls. But
Yeah.
I still flew. I flew to people that were very ill, cancer and things
Yeah.
like that to assist them. Um, but people had to face the the ones that they were living with. Now that sounds very strange, but there we got into a program where the mother, the father were working,
Hmm.
the children were in every kind of event that was possible.
Hmm.
Fast food became a tremendous outlet for the parents so that they didn't have time to cook. So what did they do? They picked their kids up from the ball game or dancing lessons and drive by fast food. Right?
Hmm.
And and then they were so exhausted because they were always to-do list, a to-do list,
Hmm.
and then putting the kids to bed, and then maybe some small talk, but they're exhausted. I found them always very exhausted, even for intimacy time, an
Hmm.
intimate time, an intimate time of conversations or just, intimacy.
Hmm.
This was fantastic in the way, and that's the brilliance, I think, of a human spirit.
Hmm.
I really do. Because we go, okay, this is the situation. How do we make it better? How do we
Yeah.
make this better? One, they had to start learning to cook again.
Yeah.
Two, they had to find out what their children were studying in school because they had laptops, and they were shocked at what these kids were learning.
Exactly.
It was nothing they wanted their children to be learning. And that's why there was a lot of disturbances in the house. Then the
Yeah.
parents or, their mates were finding out who they are and what's been going on with them in a very intimate, close scene.
Yeah.
Some, unfortunately, didn't make it because they realized, oh, you know what, I just don't think I like you.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that
See
going
both
on. Like,
sides of it.
I
Yes.
don't think
Yes.
I like being with you all the time. So
Yeah.
that facade broke away because it was a hidden facade.
Yeah.
Others grew closer together to say, I'm loving this. I'm loving having more time with you. I'm loving that now we can have time to be with each other.
Yeah.
And as you know, I live across the street from a golf course and then the river.
Mm-hmm.
That was extremely active. No one was playing golf,
Yeah.
but we were all walking.
Yes, dads were outside playing soccer with their kids. Like I had
They,
neighbors that I've never seen before. Every single morning they would get in the car and drive away as fast as possible. And then in a matter of days, these busy dads were outside kicking the ball back and forth with their kids. You know,
yeah,
it's not all positive, but I realized in that moment that the moment people see this, they cannot flip the page anymore because
no,
they,
and the kids want it. You know, where's
yeah,
where's our time? We're walking on the,
exactly.
where's our neighbors? And shouldn't we be still having, making cookies and sharing it with them? I
Exactly.
saw people with little, setting up little. I started some lights in my neighborhood. I said, okay, I'm into having a party. I like life. So I started putting up lights everywhere, as you know.
It was
And
beautiful.
so all of a sudden, all the other neighbors are going, I like the lights too. It's not Christmas, but why not? So now everybody's
Yeah.
lighting up their neighborhoods. And I love that. It's like saying, no, there's still a party going on. We still like life. We still love it. Life is going to go on. And then these little chairs would set up and little tents would set up and people would stop by and sit in the tents and chair. And it was like, before it was like garage door open, car
Yep.
going in,
And that was it.
garage door, all the curtains closed. And it's like, I
That was
wonder
it.
who those people are. I wonder who my neighbors are,
That
you
was it.
know?
I mean,
And
in
now
our
it's like,
neighborhood, go ahead, go ahead.
hey, listen, I ran out of butter and, uh, do you have some? I need it. And sure, yeah, I need some half and half. You got some? Sure, come on over.
It
It's
was,
really helped with the unification. And
yeah,
it's powerful.
yeah.
Unification is so powerful,
So as
you
much
know?
as like we can think of it as, a tragedy or whatever you want to call it, I mean, the neighborhood I lived in, there were evenings where the neighbors would come outside and set a table because it's social distancing, right? So the neighbor across the street would set their table, and this side of the street would set their table, and they would be sitting facing each other and just have a conversation all evening and have wine and candles and stuff like that. So to me, it was like, at the beginning, it was kind of, scary. It's like, okay, what's going to happen, business and all that stuff. Like you wonder how would people survive this, right? Everybody, and this is another lesson. Everybody lives paycheck to paycheck, right? And then COVID
Yes.
happens, and it's like, how are people going to survive this? Those waiters,
Yeah.
those people, they live literally, how are they going to survive it? But
Right.
somehow, some way, everybody was fine.
Well, you know what other people did? They chipped in. And they would have in restaurants where you could go outside or wherever, they'd say, thank you so much for coming because this means a lot. We don't want to close it down. So everybody, instead of, your normal tip, they would throw in more.
Somehow,
They
some
would throw
way,
in so
but
that it would balance it. So other people, okay, I have some money. I'm going to throw it in, you
yeah,
know? And And I know that happened a lot where people were chipping in. And also, here was another wonderful thing is which I love, that little town of Gulfport on the water. They set up areas where ones that had more than others, they would
Mm-hmm.
start putting bins of all kinds of necessities and
Wow.
vegetables and fruit, and paper products, and just take it. Just
Wow.
take it. No, you don't. And everybody was wonderful. Like, well, I just need this paper product, and I could use some apples, and everybody was very careful to take just what they need.
Yeah.
And Tevi, this is where we're going. This is where we've stepped. And like you said, that other door is closed
Yeah.
because kindness is infectious
Yeah.
and it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good to be kind to yourself and kind to others.
Yeah. And I think once people get an opportunity to get a taste of it, then you have almost like a sample of what could be.
Yeah,
So to me, that was the beginning of an era because at first it started out as, oh my God, this is going to destroy us. And in a way, yes, a lot of people, they lost a lot of things and things kind of, they had to reinvent themselves somehow. I had to reinvent myself, you know. But in the end, to me, I'm like, I wouldn't be where I am today doing what I'm doing, saying what I'm saying if it wasn't for that moment or whatever, however months, how many months it was of reset. Really, that's what it was. It was a reset. It was a reset because from
and
that
the
point
internal,
on, life was not the same. It still isn't.
right?
We're not going back. Like, we're not going back to post or pre-COVID. We're not going back.
Yeah.
Life will never be the same. So in
We
this,
looked at ourselves different too, Tubby. We looked at ourselves to say, okay, we need to assist each other in whatever way we can.
yeah,
We need to look at our bodies different. How do we make our bodies healthier? Because people were not healthy, overeating, bad food, and it was like, let's re-examine what we're putting in our temple, in our body, right?
yeah,
And how are we treating others too? How are
mhm,
we really treating others?
yeah,
That's very that I think affected a lot of people. And when the kindness came out,
yeah,
random kindness is when people's hearts were opening up. They were
yeah,
opening up because a
yeah,
lot of people were afraid. They were really they were afraid of death, and they had to face really what they are as a
yeah,
spirit.
yeah,
A creator's, a fractal of the creator, and what you fear, you will pull in. And that's what the bridge we had to cross
yeah.
over that bridge of fear. Okay, if it happens, it happens, but I can live again.
And they
I'm a multi-dimensional being, and
and
that was hitting
people,
people.
yes, they came out stronger because
Yeah,
now we're realizing there are other ways. It doesn't have to be this grind and, people are starting to open their eyes to the fact that there are other ways to live. There are other ways to be in this world, you know? And okay, I'm gonna put something in front of you, right? People always wait for the day where something major changes, right? Like the day World War II ended, right? Or the day that this country had their independence. Like everyone is waiting for this big day where whatever the promises would be, right? What if that day has happened and this is the beginning of a new cycle? How do we
Oh,
handle it?
I believe
Because,
it did happen and that we are in a new cycle. And you can tell, Tevi, by nature,
yeah,
animals are acting completely different. They're coming up to humans because they know the humans have changed. You know, they're acting different with each other. Where you'd see like a predator, let's say a polar bear that eats these certain birds, you know, like
uh-huh,
pelicans and stuff like that. They're actually sitting beside each other.
mm-hmm,
Um, I put something recently, social media, where a young polar bear
mm-hmm,
saw a ship, an explorer ship with
mm-hmm,
a crew on it,
mm-hmm.
ran up, you know, to the ship. There was a rope on it, climbed the rope, and jumped on everybody and like licked them, kissed them, hugged them, played with them.
Wow.
And the mother's just sitting there going, "Have your fun, honey. Check them out, see how this crew is." And she's sitting there watching, just having a good time while her baby's out there playing with everyone. He sat, this one sat on everybody's lap, paws around the neck, licking them, playing with them. They gave him some
Wow.
fish. And then it was like, well, I got to go now. Mom's waiting. And then
Wow.
climbs off in the boat, runs off to the mother. This is happening more and more and more. It's to
Mhm.
say, we're in a different world.
We are.
We're in a different world.
We are. Because it feels different. The density of the place feels different.
Less,
Yes, it feels less dense. Nothing
less dense.
seems so heavy anymore.
Right,
The
right.
density has changed. Everything feels lighter.
There is still chaos going on, but
Yes,
there is, with people, there is, and you can feel it. It's an
yes,
energy of hope. It is a live energy, and it's going through people,
yes,
and they're different. It's like what looks impossible, we make possible.
yeah,
And they've got smiles on their face. They're happier. They seem more generous. No, let me get this one. I got that.
mm-hmm,
I here's a gift. I just thought you wanted, you know, you'd like. Um, let me help you out. No, it's different.
yeah,
We are different harmonics, a different vibration. Uh, you know, we were to go to the fourth and the fifth dimension,
mhm,
elevation, however you want to call it, we are there. We have left that density behind.
yeah,
And, you know, it took so many of us, a percentage, to get there and then bring the rest of us with, you know, we don't leave anybody behind. Nobody's behind unless they want to go, listen, I'll catch you the next life. I've got to go, you know, but we are bringing the whole consciousness with us, you know, because there are many going, gee, I don't know, that could be just a little too tough for me. I'll take you, I'll catch the next train.
yeah. Some people are just okay the way they are, which is fine.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's kind of like, at night, right? It's like, okay, this is Monday night, or let's call it Sunday night. So you're at night, Sunday night, and it's 10, 10:30, 11, and it's midnight. At midnight, it's Monday already. However, you still feel like it's Sunday night, right?
right,
Even if you're
right.
up till 2 in the morning, in your head, it's still
It's
Sunday night,
Sunday.
but it's Monday.
Yes.
And it's gonna be dark on Monday for a few more hours, but it's Monday.
And that's what we went through.
Yes. And I feel like people still see the darkness and they think there's still last night.
Yes.
Last night is gone.
Perfectly said, because um, I'm like excited. I'm like a kid that's opening up Christmas every day because I know it. I feel it. And it's like we crossed um, a marker where
Yeah.
there were many times this earth was just destroyed or blown up or civilization. We crossed a marker where we said this time, no,
Hmm.
no, we're bringing, and Mother Earth is evolving and we're going with her. And
Hmm.
that's what we've done. That's exactly what we've done.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. And that's why we came. It's, as they say, it's the greatest show on earth. It's
It's quite
in
fascinating.
it
It's quite
is.
fascinating because if you really want to get into the details of it, it's really fascinating. Um,
Mhm.
because we can talk about things and, many people talk about many different things, but to be living in an era where you can actually feel change, you can feel a transformation happening, you can feel the air just feeling different. That's something special, you know. I mean, I don't personally know, okay, this is gonna happen, then that or whatever. I have no idea. But you just get this sense that we're accelerating towards something
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
already been, the key is already in ignition.
Definitely it's turned on. And another thing is colors are coming in differently. You're seeing different colors, different rays, and these are from the universe and the sun. Now, when I would do my artwork, and I work with different rays of the universe, and I would be painting,
Yeah.
I could see them coming like almost in the back of my mind, and they'd be coming in as I would be working. And it was like information, but living essence of the God force coming through, that it would be like I could almost like it would lift me from my chair
Yeah.
doing work at the desk. And I would say, "Oh my God, that is great." And I would hear, I know.
You're welcome.
Um, and that's more and more what is happening. It is like exciting. Now,
Yeah.
what people have to realize, and they're experiencing this, and some don't know, but I always discuss it, is that the electrical system is
Hmm.
changing.
Hmm.
The waterways are changing because we're mostly water, and that's where all our information travels, like a highway.
Hmm.
And so people will get aches and pains. They'll feel like they have the flu or a
Hmm.
cold, headaches,
Hmm.
nauseous, tiredness.
Hmm.
And then you could turn around and feel like you could paint the whole house, um, or run a
Yeah.
marathon. Great ideas start coming, old ones
Yeah.
leave. And, you know, again, with clients, they say, sometimes there are people that I I don't find they have a hard time saying that it's the interest of them anymore. I just I'm like they've outgrown them, or and so I would in an easy way say to them, well, it's like this. You're on a bus, and you're
Hmm.
traveling. And let's say your good friend who, it's the same old story, it's the same old conversation. They decide to get off the bus and sit on one of the benches. And they ask you to stay with them on the bench. And you go, well, I'd like to, but I'd like to continue my journey. And they go, well, I'd like to stay on the bench. I think that's a little too much for me to go forward. That's just
Hmm.
just way too much. But I feel comfortable staying on this bench. But I might catch up with you another time, or I may
Hmm.
not, or maybe another lifetime. But I feel comfortable with what I know right now, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people experience that where they continue on their bus drive, on their ride, and the other person stays on the bench. And it
Yeah.
may be difficult to leave that person, but at the same time, it's universal law. If something leaves, something is brought in.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the passions of our jobs. If you leave
Yeah.
something, universal law will fill it with what they feel, what the universe feels your higher self will feel.
Yeah.
This is where and what will be good for your soul at this time,
And first, you
at this
have to
time.
have the courage to look at yourself and admit it to yourself that there's something is just not clicking right, right? Because I feel like our value system is changing. Okay. Whatever used to be so important doesn't seem that important anymore, especially with this new generation. The stuff that the previous generation was so busy pursuing, they have no interest whatsoever. They don't care, right?
No, no,
So th-
no,
that means we're going into the world, into a world where our value system is changing, right?
right,
What's
right.
valuable going forward will have to be redefined. I mean, people need to now start to reevaluate their priorities, right? Because I personally believe that going forward, the most valuable thing is your level of awareness of yourself and where, your place in the grand scheme of things. That's the true value of a person. So if you busy with your life just trying to keep up with bills and, that's fine. That's not a crime. That's what we're all trained to do. But we're progressively going into a place where surviving just won't cut it. You'll
No,
have to find yourself and find your place in this reality of ours, right? And that requires this self-awareness, this assessment where people need to take the time and, like you said, figure out what is that one thing that I get to bring to the table that aligns with my higher self. And that requires work. It requires attention. It requires willingness to at least start that conversation.
it is courage. It takes a great deal of courage because you may be surrounded by people are going, are you crazy? Leaving that job, leaving a pension, even though it's killing you mentally and physically,
Yeah.
you're bringing in X, Y, and Z amount of, and you got a great car, or
And your
big
house is so
house.
nice. So
Why would you leave that? You know,
it's so nice.
even though it's killing and it does. People die doing it. They just die doing it.
Got a pool and everything.
Right, right. So, yeah, it is a totally, now that's the old programming of which we've been in. And this
Yeah.
is what we're breaking is survival, um, mentality, surviving. There's not enough.
Yeah.
There's never enough. And that's why a lot of people spend a lot of time shopping.
Yeah, because even when you have money, this is what people don't realize. They think like the people that never really had money, they think once they have money, they'll stop worrying about money. However, the majority of people that have money tend to worry even more about money. So if you never get out of that mindset, the survival mindset, you'll still be surviving with millions of dollars in the bank account because that's just your mindset,
Right,
right? And at some point, you're gonna have to ask yourself, what exactly are you running from, right? And again, if you never take time to look at yourself and get to the bottom of it, you will always have something to chase, no matter how much you have. I mean, I personally, especially if you live in America, you have enough. Things may be tough some months, but if you manage to make a life for yourself in America, you have enough. But will you ever come to the point where you accept that you have enough
right.
so that you can
It's
focus on other things? You see what I'm saying?
right. It's let's put another thing in the equation. It's the competition. We were raised to be competitive. Day one, very competitive. Had to have the best grades, had to be the best athlete, had to be the best looking. If you were good looking and you got the top grades, you were the queen of the prom or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So it's constant, constant competition. you
Yeah,
know, or where I worked, let's say is in real estate, right?
yeah,
Um, Weekly meetings. Okay, who made the most money? They get the star for the day. You know,
yeah,
they get to park in a certain park. I used to crack up about that. You get to park in a certain parking
yeah.
space. You got a bottle of wine and then you got a certificate.
And if you're really, really good, you get to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. So the trips were there, all the stuff was there, you know,
Yeah.
and then one day, you've got a wastebasket around file and you go, I really don't need the certificate. The wine is terrible, it's all chemicals, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and you just go, I've done this. And it's a good feeling when you say, I've done this, I have to move on. And you hang the keys up. You've done it. I've done it.
Yeah.
And people thought I was totally insane. But what was it, John Lennon's? I love that song, John Lennon, and I would sing it because people thought I was crazy.
Hmm.
People say I'm crazy, because he left the Beatles, right?
Hmm.
People call me crazy, you know,
Yeah.
and I've been called crazy many, many times, you know. Um, I can't count how many times, but it's it's being
It's being
brave
brave.
enough
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say, done this. I learned a lot. I was on a mission and I did it.
Yeah.
Now it's time to move on. And, where else do you want me, universe? What else would you like me to do?
Yeah.
What else would you like me to do?
At least start dipping your toes into something that inspires you, right?
Exactly. You don't have to just
You
crash
don't have to
and
drop everything, you don't
right.
have to,
Just go to the stream. Keep your
yeah.
day job and start
Yeah.
streaming into something that you like.
Yeah.
And then you explore yourself. You find yourself. You find out what you like and what you don't like. But in between, you're paying your bills or your
Yeah.
rent or your kids'
Yeah.
tuition. But you could start making birdhouses, or
You
something,
gotta feed
right?
your soul somehow. You gotta feed
Yes,
your soul somehow. I think that's lacking because
right.
again, it's just never enough. You gotta work 2 jobs, do this and do that because it's never enough. But you're not really feeding your soul. That means that eventually you're gonna run out of fuel. And most people are
That
already out of fuel.
now, a lot of people don't realize that you get so much fuel a day.
Exactly.
How are you going to use that energy that's coming in? It's precious. It is, I mean, people think of gold. This is your divine energy going through your body. How are you gonna utilize it? And now the big thing is, how do you make sure it doesn't leak out of your body? That is a huge one. And I have a lot of clients come to me saying, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
What it is a lot of people that they're caring for because we have an internal generator
Yeah.
and we have to take care of that internal generator. And a lot of people don't want to turn, as you say, the keys, turn their own generator on.
Yeah.
They feel they don't know how to, or they're not going to, or whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
But they know that somebody else generator is working very well.
Yeah.
So
It's
they can actually hook up. They can like a gas station, they
take
can
it.
hook up to you. And a lot of
It'll
people
take
are
it.
like totally got hooks all over them.
Drain. Yep.
And that's the examination again, Tevi, when you're talking about how you want to live and re-examining yourself. You have to look at yourself and say, what attachments are on me? Who's attaching to me?
Thank you.
And no matter how much you love these people, you have to say, I'm sorry, but no, 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 because you're draining me. I can't think right. I can't use my divine energy, and you have to do it
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Perfectly said. It's it's like balancing your bank account.
Yes,
You have a
yes,
job, there's some money coming in, but then you're spending a certain amount. If you're
right.
spending more than money is coming in, you may have some savings or whatever that you've accumulated over the years, but eventually, if more is going out than it's coming in, eventually you're gonna run out of money. You're gonna run out of resources. You're gonna run out of power. You're gonna run out of energy. That's it's so simple, but people don't really pay attention to it, right? In the name of giving, in the name of care, in the name of being responsible, you allow yourself to run on a deficit month after month, year after year after year, and you wonder why you feel like crashing. Because that's pretty much how people end up having most health issues that they're having.
Big issue. It is their health, and it is, again, we're going to go back to the self-love. It is part of their self-love for themselves
Recharging, yes.
and for the other person, right? For the other person. And like what you did, the recharge, it changes your body completely because you're going, okay, I did this, but now it's draining me. So I have to like break this and do something that recharges me, right?
Feed your
And
soul.
anything that you're surrounded by, what's good for you will be good for the other person.
Yes. If you're doing right by you, all of a sudden, whoever you're trying to take care of, you do so much better
Right,
at it.
right,
Whatever it is
right,
you set out to do, you do so much at it. It's so much better at it, even in relationships. If you
right,
refuel yourself, if you recharge your own battery, you'll be so much more given and you'll be so much more pleasant to be around. But if
right.
you
You're not
don't,
you're not dragging your little butt around,
yeah,
you're not unhappy. No, that is the gift to ourselves and to the world, because then you're an example of No, 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 I've got to take care of myself.
Oh yeah,
The mask is on me first in the airplane, right? It's got
exactly,
to put on me to take care of me,
exactly, exactly.
right?
And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you stop caring about anybody else but yourself. But no, this actually means you get to be better
Yeah,
at whatever it is that you have to give to others. You know, you
right.
have to recharge yourself. There's no
You Empowering your
shame or guilt about it. You have to recharge. You have to have a way, right? You have to have a practice, regular practice of recharging yourself on a regular basis. Otherwise, these are all universal laws. If you don't replenish your energy bank, you will drain yourself to the ground. No one is above the law. It's it's that
and
simple.
that in a lower energy, and it's it's like a dirty engine. You're not cleaning it. You're not cleaning the filters out. You're not taking care of it. You got holes everywhere. Everything's leaking, and you're not the example of whoever you're living with. Or, uh, um, okay, and we'll even go further. There's a lot of, let's say, light workers or teachers, and they're they're not in good health, and they're drained because they're allowing their students, and I would see that because I help a lot of practitioners. And it doesn't matter, even in the medical field, the dentistry, whatever it is, they're exhausted because they're allowing their patients or their clients or their students to take from them,
Yeah,
thinking that they are being
that's
good
how
by
they help.
allowing
Yeah,
to take parts of them. It's like you're at the buffet and they're just chomping away.
yeah,
And I've seen it happen. And I've seen
yeah,
when they get sick and they don't make it.
yeah,
It was a good lesson for me to see that
yeah.
in action.
It's a long road, this life business. They say life is short, but it's also quite a long road. And you have to pace yourself, you know, and you have to constantly have a way to renew yourself. Otherwise,
It's like a
eventually, go ahead.
it's like the I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're okay.
It's like our children's stories of the turtle and the rabbit. The turtle paced itself and won the race, where the rabbit was just jumping all around and wasting its energy. We
Yeah,
do have to pace ourselves,
yeah,
kindness to ourselves, kindness to others, and um and pleasure and joy into the life. Don't make it so serious, no matter what's happening. I mean, things can look pretty serious and pretty crappy. How do we make it better in our space?
yeah. Also
Because
have like a way of having something to look forward to, having something to get excited about. Having
right,
ways to look at yourself and see how much you've progressed, and having ways to reflect back on yourself and give yourself the praise of the things that you've been able to do. Like you mentioned the practitioners. A lot of these people will do this work for years, sometimes decades. There is no awards to win for helping people, right? Sometimes. But in general, these people do it just out of the goodness of their heart and they believe this is what they were put here to do. So they will do it until their last day, right? However, there is nothing wrong in the midst of all of that to find ways to inspire yourself because you are a subject too. Like
right,
I,
right,
I wake up every single day. I have to work on myself. I,
right,
I'm, I'm a subject to myself. I have
right,
to, you know what I mean? So there's
right.
nothing wrong with taking that time for yourself and give a little bit of that attention that you give to others. Give a little bit of it to yourself, just so you can bring back that spark, the excitement of doing what it is that you're doing.
I think we should give more than what we do, really. We've been taught that it's selfish, and it's not. It's 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 a necessity.
It's a
It
necessity.
really is a
Absolutely.
necessity
Yeah.
because it brings joy to the world when we're happy and
Yeah.
we're creating and we're healthy
Yeah.
and we're healthy.
Yeah.
And I think the wonderful thing is we are stepping into looking at um, a new era of looking at all our foods,
Mm-hmm.
looking we're putting in our bodies, you know, and even the chemicals and the medicines. Do we need these? What's really in them? And it's time to investigate all of that. What's in these medicines? Does our body really, is it going to help our body? Now, sometimes it will. Sometimes your body, every body is different. Every person is different. How is this going to affect me?
Mm-hmm.
Where before we just did things. Oh, the doctor said let's do it. You know,
Yeah.
then they change their mind and they go, well, you know what? That medicine, we have to recall it. It's not very good. But
Yeah.
it's for us to be accountable for our own bodies to say, I'm going to do some research and I want to research this before I just say yes with
Yeah.
anything that happens in our body, you
And
know?
also, I feel like if we treat ourselves, including our bodies, right, we are, because when the damage is done, you have to trust the, the doctors, the chemicals, and whatever, because the damage is done. But if you can put yourself in position where you don't actually have to wait until the damage is done, you live your life a certain way where you keep yourself healthy, right? So you allowing yourself to progress in life and treating yourself the right way and living the right way and managing your energy and being excited and healthy and doing the things that you're doing, you're actually contributing to that mission of yours by being
Right,
healthier and having more energy to do the things that matter,
right.
And so it's not selfish at all. It's actually, if you want to really think about it, that's part of your mission to take better care of yourself.
It's a gift. We were given the life here. We're energy, and we were given the gift of this body. And it's just like our parents giving us a gift. Let's say I didn't get that gift, but I did give my children the gift of a car and said, take care of it. Well, this cost a lot of money. It's expensive
Yeah,
and it needs your care. So take
yeah.
care of it, right? Ours is the same way. It's a vehicle. I mean, when I think of my car, my vehicle, I want to think of it as like a Bentley or something. It's
Well, that's what gets you places. All the places
right.
you have to be, that's what gets you there. So this body of ours, yes, it needs to be taken care of. And the mind, the spirit needs to be taken care of. It's not just the body. Like if you lose your spirit doing what you're doing, that's even darker than, physical illness because without the excitement, there's a lot of good people out there that just don't have the excitement to do what they set out to do. There's a lot of like
Yeah,
I wouldn't even call it potential. There's a lot of powerful people out there that somehow just got buried under the pressure of this world and they just don't have any spark to get out there and do what they're supposed to do.
It's again, it's I think it's the old programming to go to the finest schools there are, put that time in, make sure you have the right mate, looks good too, and get that job, that knockoff job that really brings in a lot of money. And then you have to buy the house in the right neighborhood that is very expensive, and you need at least two or three cars to go with it, right?
Yeah.
So you have all this weight on your shoulders, and it's like this is the job of the moment to constantly take care of the car, take care of the people, take care all of it.
Yeah.
That you're just some are just walking through it. They're just I have to do this.
Mhm.
You know, they've got a desk full of bills. I've got to do this, you know.
Because once you
And when
get
I
it, like once you get a taste of the lifestyle, you're hooked. Now you have to keep paying the bills. So it's like success, success, success. Like, okay, you got it, right? The house, you got the house, you got the cars, you got, now you're hooked.
yeah,
Now what do? Because
you have to
anything less of that will be perceived as you going backward. And we can't have
you're
that. You're a
you're a
failure.
failure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it was like okay, so I was driving a client and their son got in while the client went to get something, and he goes, "Mary, what happened? You had an Audi before, and now you have a Volkswagen. What happened to you?
yeah,
You went to." Now he was 11 years old. And I went, "Dear God, I don't want to tell him, the facts of life really quick. This is paid. I don't have any bills, you
exactly.
know, and most people are paying, with their credit card just to drive around. But it was very interesting. This was an 11-year-old boy saying, "What happened? Did you lose everything?"
That's the mentality. That's the
Yeah,
mentality. And once you're hooked, you're hooked. So you literally have to consciously free yourself from that programming. Otherwise, it's a trap.
right,
A trap.
right,
So
right.